Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's talk from us. My name's Toby Bellwood. I'm the govCMS Technical Services Manager, and I'm here with Jorge from Doghouse Agency to talk about Data Visualisation Framework and how we're using it in govCMS and how it's under active development. First off, what's our audience? Is our audience sort of technical developer type or front-endy, styly type, or just lost?
I'm lost.
So what we'll do is we'll go through a little bit of the background to the project. We'll talk a little bit about what we've done, and then we'll go through some live demos. And if you want to see more live demos, shout out for more live demos. If you want us to change stuff and break stuff live, we can, because I won't have to fix it. We did enough of that just outside trying to get this ready. So. Okay, next up. So for those that don't know about govCMS, you obviously weren't at my talk yesterday or haven't been bailed up by me somewhere in a corridor. govCMS, Australian government's program, putting Drupal throughout government and making it awesome. And in doing this, we're working with a number of partners to help deliver our services. So Doghouse, obviously, have done an awful lot of work in this space with us. Do you want to give us a spiel about Doghouse?
Yeah, sure. So Doghouse is a full-service agency based in Perth, but we have offices in Melbourne as well. We employ about 30 staff across those two offices, and we do anything digital, from workshops through to development and hosting and everything, so in between.
So this all hinges a little bit on data and data being made available. I've got an open data background. I think open data is massively important, and this module is basically a way of encouraging agencies to publish their data openly and then consuming that to drive their websites. That's a better outcome for everyone. It remains less hard-coded visualizations, and it means that the data can then be reused. Because we're in New Zealand, I thought I'd just put a couple of slides up that show why Australia is better at open data than New Zealand. I don't think Amy's in the room, so Australia placed second in the Open Data Index last year, and I had to clip it. I clipped it I got New Zealand in there at 8th. And yeah, this is basically Australia and New Zealand, very similar position. We're both advanced countries in publishing data and publishing, I'm going to say, quality open data. Not all the data that's published is quality, but we both run open data portals. The open data portals have a variety of stuff on there. Some of it's really, really usable. Some of it needs a little bit of love and attention. But part of the goal of this module as well, in order to be able to visualize your data properly, you need to be able to have it in a machine-readable form and a well-structured machine-readable form. So it's trying to nudge people towards better behavior by offering them candies. So skip forward. Oh, yeah, just ahead of New Zealand. So you've got to have a little bit of Australia versus New Zealand rivalry. So we started this in the govCMS space 2 years ago with the State of the Environment report, pretty much. There was supposed to be a talk at DrupalSouth by the Department of Environment, but basically they digitized their annual report. And in order to do that, they wanted to make visualizations that sort of stood out. So they wanted to put on govCMS because they wanted the management, the service, the hosting, but they wanted the visualization. So they engaged Doghouse to do a fair amount of work on this. So do you want to talk us through what happened?
Yeah, so Doghouse was involved in the scoping and planning and engineering, architecting of this particular component of the project, which was quite big because what happens is the State of the Environment is actually a book, just thick, quite heavy as well, and they have a whole bunch of charts on in a book, all sorts of charts, bar charts, line charts, spline charts. So the challenge was to actually transform what's on paper to actually something that's on the web. People can interact with, people can enable and disable different parts of the visualization as well. Anyways, just to make something that's actually static, completely static, to something that people can see on the web. So that was like the biggest challenge. And the data as well, as Toby said, was a bit of a challenge, trying to come up with a format that was machine-like friendly so that we could actually parse it and display in a visualization format.
And one of our goals in this is to build something that doesn't just work for that one website, but build something that's reusable across the entire A, portfolio of govCMS websites, but B, is something that's contributed back towards Drupal. It's really important. It's a really important part of our program that we do more of this giving back. So the challenge of building something to make this website work, it could have all been done in theme, but it would have been very singular. It would have only worked for that. So in building the module, it's been really important for us that other people can then reuse it, and we see that State of the Environment report built it. It was modified. Salsa did a bit of work on it to get the Victorian state budget working. We've got 2 more websites that have used it and extended it further, and all this is being pushed back to the module available. I got an email from someone in Sicily a couple of months ago asking if we had any instructions on how to do a particular thing inside it, and turns out that their local open data portal didn't support they didn't support publishing the data in the way that the module consumed it. So it connects to any CKAN-based portal. For those that aren't in the open data world, CKAN runs most of the country open data portals around the world. There's about 15 in Australia. New Zealand's is CKAN-based. So there's a fairly wide usage. The main goal is basically to make, and I sort of said we could have locked it away in the theme. There's nothing wrong with charts and visualization in the theme, but from our particular use case in government, we don't have a lot of agencies who have theme skills. So to make a modification to a chart means they have to engage someone who can go in and they can edit a file in a GitHub repository and push it back up. That's beyond the capabilities of a lot of our agencies. But by bringing the configuration into Drupal and into Drupal fields and into the UI, it makes it more accessible for people, and it makes it easier for people to build this. So we got some demos of,
Yeah, so we've got some examples of the State of the Environment projects. So this one is the most basic one, I suppose. It's just a table, which is, let's call it, one type of visualization as well. Super simple. You can search for anything in the data set. It's got pagination down the bottom as well, so you don't get like a 200 row long table on your page. And for this particular project, you get some very nice extra features, which, as Toby said, was they were built in the theme layer, but just the extra features down the bottom. Everything else was in the module. And then we've got, in this example here, we've got a bar chart, but it's rotated and it's stacked as well. So all those settings you can actually configure as a content editor in the backend of Drupal. It's quite flexible.
we can also see how bad Western Australia is at recycling. Offending everyone today.
So the next one is it's a line chart with area enabled. Again, another configuration option in the backend of Drupal. The last one is just a simple line graph. I might actually show one of these ones in the context of the project and show how you interact with the graph and stuff like that. So just give me a moment. So this is the State of the Environment website, which, as you can see, has a whole bunch of visualizations. So I'm just going to...
I'll point out at this stage that Doghouse and the Department of Environment won the award at Acquia Engage last month over in Boston. So it's the globally award-winning State of the Environment project.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump back to the one that we have in the slides. Thank you. So yeah, this is what we've got in the slides. So this used to be in the book, on paper, completely static. You couldn't do anything with it. So now it's on the web. It's fully interactive. So if you really want, you can just disable one of the labels down the bottom. So you're only looking at recycling and energy recovery. If you just want to look at one of them, you can turn the other one off as well. So it's, as you can see, it's fully interactive and a much better user experience if you consider, book readers as users as well, so you can interact with it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Also, do you want to click on the sort of the show table? So
yeah, yeah, that's good. So yeah, for this project we created 4 extra features. So one of them is a table fallback, because if the user doesn't have JS enabled, they will always get a table. Therefore, the site is fully accessible. The visualization data always exists. So I'm going to show as well that you can filter by, say, Tasmania, and all you get is the data for Tasmania. Super quick as well, because it's all done on the client side. It's JavaScript. This table is not long, but if it was, you would be able to click on different pages as well to see more of the data. Again, it's specific to this project. You can download this chart as a PNG or as an SVG, or you can actually download the data set from data.gov.au.
What's important is this is connected directly to the data set on data.gov.au. So if the state of the environment report realizes they've made a typo, that they've actually massively got Western Australia's recycling number wrong, they can go through and they can edit the data set on data.gov.au, and that change will then propagate through, and this visualization will change. And where this is important, not for this report necessarily, but if you're publishing monthly statistics or something, connecting it up to a live data feed, all the agency has to do is put March's numbers, April's numbers into the data set on data.gov.au, and if your chart's set correctly here, the extra month will just appear as soon as it's updated at the source. So that publish once, consume many is something that I think is really important in this space. So cool. From our point of view, we've spoken to a number of agencies who've wanted to do this in Drupal 7. There is a learning curve in getting the govCMS CKAN module up and running. This is the Drupal 7 version. So we tried to sort of encapsulate some of our lessons learned and some of our feedback. And I sat down with Doghouse earlier this year, and we had a Skype session where we basically all spilled out our ideas of what we could do differently and how we could take this forward. And I think we're all fairly on the same page with it. 2 weeks later, I had the most incredible prototype back. One of the main criticisms, it's only limited to things that are published on CKAN portals, which is great if you've got access to be able to publish on your local CKAN portal. But if you don't run a CKAN portal, you couldn't do it. So we sort of said, well, what if you just published the data as a plain CSV and put it anywhere? You can have it on a CKAN portal, you can have it on a Socrata portal, you can host it on your website, you can put it in a GitHub repo. The table styling that we saw in the State of the Environment report, that styling, the pagination, the search, the filtering, was all done in the theme layer. The out-of-the-box table is a out-of-the-box table. It's
HTML table.
It's just an HTML table.
Yeah.
So one of the things was making better out-of-the-box table styling was important, because some people just want it to power a table. They don't even want the charts. They just want their table updated. And the ability to sort of extend it, to add new visualizations, to add new functionality was really quite hard. It's good for Doghouse, because it means anybody that wants work done comes to you. But as a community and as a trying to get more people involved, it's a really steep learning curve to get into understanding how this module in particular works. So with that in mind, we sat down, we had this conversation, and we created the Data Visualisation Framework. DVF, it's a really creative name. And we went Drupal8 native, A, to differentiate slightly from the CKAN module, but B, because we figured it'd be ready about the same time as govCMS 8. And it's basically we rebuilt it from scratch. Took a lot of the learnings, took a lot of the what was good about the old module and a lot of the ethos going forwards. But I left it to Doghouse to build what we talked about, and I was really, really impressed. I think I'd been at govCMS for about 2 months by then, and I got this email saying, I think it's ready, have a quick look, and yeah, I was blown away. What's up next? I am really bad at remembering what's in the
That's our
slide.
vision.
Oh, yes. So yeah, basically this is the vision, this is that conversation. Extensible, developable, I'm sure that's a real word. And also sort of extending a little bit of the charting library, data source stuff, and just getting out of box. Because if someone gives it a run on Simply Test or deploys it on a test box and can't get results inside the first 5 or 10 minutes, the chance of them sticking around, they probably won't. They'll probably just go back to the old way or go back to a tried and tested method of screen capping things and adding JPEGs of charts into web pages, which I hate with a passion.
Cool. So just going to talk about how we re-engineered the module to be flexible, to allow different data sources, to allow different libraries, I suppose, as well. So we are leveraging of Drupal8 plugin, the plugin system. So what we did was we created what we are calling data sources plugins, and CKAN dataset is just one of them. Online CSV file is another one as well. So if you want to extend this module, if you want to plug into a JSON format, all you have to do is create another data source. If you want to integrate with XML files as well, all you have to do is just implement another data source. And then you have, in the middle, you have the Data Visualisation Framework, just orchestrating what comes in and what comes out as well. And what comes out of the box is a bar chart, line chart, scatter plot, and a table with all the features that Toby mentioned. So, so what we've got here on the right-hand side is what we are calling a style plugin. So we have data source plugin, we have the core of the module, and we have a style plugin, which you can extend as well if you really want. So this is what I was talking about. So CKAN datasets is just one of the data sources. CSV files is another one as well. And there is more to come. So JSON, for example, XML as well. They are coming.
We're not doing PDF.
Not doing PDF. Cool. So I'm just gonna show you what the code looks like. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just gonna briefly show you what it looks like. So this is the CSV data source, which is just a plugin. Just to show you guys how easy it is to actually expose the data to Drupal. We basically have 2 methods in this class. One is get fields, which basically, can you all see? Probably do this, make it easier. So what we have is, because it's all tabular data, we have fields and we have records. So all the data source needs to do is expose what fields are available and expose the data for that particular data set. So it is as easy as this. So if it's a CSV file, all you have to do is fetch the data, expose the headers as fields, and expose all the rows as records. I'm not going to explain what's in those functions, but that's essentially up to the data source plugin to define its implementation, but it's as easy as fetching, providing fields and records. So moving on to the data rendering. So at the moment we are supporting C3.js, which is D3 base. It's a chart library. And for the tables, we're using DataTables, which is a jQuery plugin that we implemented as well out of the box. As Toby said, what we want in the future is to be able to implement other libraries like Chart.js or Plotly.js as well. So we're going to be abstracting, hopefully, the the style layer as well, so that you can plug in any JS library you want. I'm just going to show you as well a quick example of how we get the settings from Drupal to the front end into the visualization libraries. So this is basically it. It's a Drupal behavior. For those of you familiar with JavaScript in Drupal, all it is a whole bunch of settings that Drupal is spitting out and making available to JavaScript. And in the jQuery plugin that we built for this particular module, which does all the C3 rendering, we actually have access to all those options and what element, which is the visualization that we are applying those settings to. So super easy to extend as well. We currently have, on GitHub, we currently have pull requests for making the table options available to content editors in the backend, just to show how easy it is. It's literally like 10 lines of code.
It's so easy, even I can extend it. I'm very proud of, I think, stacked line. I managed to make the line chart stack and color the area. I was fairly excited.
Cool. Right, demo time.
Burn.
So, quite nervous about this one. But yeah, that is one that we broke a number of times and fixed earlier today. So before the presentation, hopefully it all goes well right now. So please bear with us if something goes wrong. Cool, so this is, wrong page, sorry. So this is one that we prepared earlier. Just so you guys know, we're using the paragraphs module. I'm using a mix of CKAN datasets as well as CSV files as well. So you can mix and match text, CKAN datasets, text, CSV hosted files as well. And I have a different number of visualizations. The first one is a bar chart. The second one is a table. A third one is a line. So I'm just going to go to the back end and just show you what it looks like from the content editor perspective. Cool. So here's the back end of Drupal. We have some paragraphs. The first one is text. The second one is CKAN resource. Can everyone see it? Okay, yeah. So all you do is you just paste in a URL. And once you've done that, what you have to do is you have to select what visualization type you want to display that data set as. And you have those options that I talked about. So you have a bar chart, line chart, scatter plot, spline, table. And once you've selected one of those ones, you have some data settings options. As I said, the Data Source plugin exposes the fields available in a data set. So this data that you can see here is actually coming from the file that you're pointing to, or coming from the CKAN data set that I'm pointing to right now. And then you have options like you can override the labels if those labels are not suitable for the website. You can rename them. And then you have a whole bunch of settings. In this particular case, because it's a bar chart, you have axis settings, you have grid settings. Just show some examples. You can rotate the graphs. You can add a label to the axis as well. You can tell the library whether it's category, which is alphanumeric value, or if it's a numeric value. Stuff like that. So there is a huge number of options that you can configure and change the graph however you want.
And currently it doesn't expose all the options that C3 or DataTables could possibly set. They're the ones that we think are the most commonly used. There will be times when people come and say, oh, I really wish it could do this. From our point of view, it's just as simple as changing the data style plugin to just expose and pass those variables back through. So.
Yeah, and it's really important because, as Toby mentioned, content editors, they don't have to come to us developers and ask us to make modifications to the charts. They can just go to the backend and tick a box, save, and off they go. The graph is automatically updated. So we have an example of a CSV file as well here, which is simply a table. So as you can see, the settings, they change depending on the visualization type, on the style type. Because this is a table, we don't have anywhere near the number of options that we have for charts. So I'm just going to attempt to make a change to one of them. Fingers crossed. So I'm just going to change the last one, the one at the bottom, which is a line chart. I'm going to enable area just to show you how easy it is.
Oh wow,
terrifying
area. Look at that.
It is to do it in front of the audience. So, well, not stacks. So let's save that and see what happens. So there you go.
I know. Also, that one's a good example because if you look back at the code, you'll see that the years, we've got some very clean 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. The dates in the actual source data are really badly munged. It's like 2008-9, and CKAN said, oh, I know when that is. That's the 1st of September 2008. So automatically converted into a date type. So in the back end, the content editor can now manually change that date format to be what we actually wanted it to be. So it's one of those, it's really powerful in helping people be able to make those things. We can add commas into the vertical axes, we can sort of change the labels. Doing all that sort of stuff at content editor level as opposed to having to dive into the JavaScript is really important. It's a work in progress. There's new things added. We did some work trying to add gauge charts where you get the little sort of 0 to 100 and realized that it's quite hard to add gauge charts. So there's still more work going on it. But do you want to flick to the next slide?
Yep.
We want to see more people doing this. I'm a real data nerd, and it pains me whenever people copy and paste images of charts when they don't enable interactivity, because I want to get in and click and browse and find out and sort and filter. We want to see more agencies that think that way. We want to see more agencies looking to work towards this. We've called it a framework on the principle we can then cram much more stuff in there, trying to make it a single place to go, basically. We've got the CKAN, the CKAN modules are collected via the CKAN API, so there is API connectivity in there, but obviously there are more people that are providing data via APIs all the time. So one of the areas is how to perhaps put a custom API call in there and make that configurable, because currently the APIs are configured inside the module. Maybe exposing the API configuration is something that we'd look at doing if we had the use case. We want to provide the community with more examples in this. We want more people using it and showing and doing the good stuff. The State of the Environment report has been fantastic as a flagship and as a proof that this kind of thing is current and it is modern and it is accessible. That's one of the important things. So we're looking for, from our point of view, agencies, be them government agencies or be them development houses, be them partners, who have these kind of opportunities to really sort of push towards making it work, towards thinking this way. And likewise, if we get to the point where someone says, it's brilliant, it's really fantastic, I want pie charts, try to look scornful at them slightly because we hate pie charts. But if people really want pie charts, we're completely open to it. We don't have the Plotly integration in there. If someone absolutely must use Plotly or wants a Wordle or something, let's work on this. Let's try and sort of coalesce support around this place of doing it. It's, from our point of view, it's easier to maintain a single module with lots of submodules and promote that than it is trying to get a sort of a various hodgepodge together. So anybody who's looking to do more in this space and can't do what they want with the module as it is, talk to us. We're more than happy to the code's all on GitHub, so you can get in, you can go crazy. Yeah, there's a PR in there at the moment to add, change the pagination size on the data tables. You can set it from 10 to 20 to 100. You can disable searching if you want to. It's really, it's pretty endless in terms of what can be done with it. Obviously, at some point, we're going to have to start making decisions about what is in the greater common good and what fits such a niche use. But I think that's kind of a cool position to be in. Like, I'd rather have too many people wanting to do things than not enough. It's also available on Drupal.org. I think Drupal.org, in the GitHub version, we've made the CKAN and CSV submodules of DVF. I think on Drupal.org, they're still dependencies external, but we will change that at some point. The only dependency is on a CKAN Connect module that was written to do the explicit connection back to CKAN portals. It's fairly straightforward. We've got, I've been speaking to a couple of people who are sort of putting it through its paces and are quite happy to throw up issues and things into their GitHub. So yeah, if you're interested, if you want to see more, if you want to show us something cool that you've done with it, get in touch. We want to hear about it, and we really want more opportunities to do more with it. There we go.
That's it. Thank you.